We do have to talk about the border, though, because that seems to be the number one issue these days, right?
Let's talk about the border. I'd love to. What would you like to discuss regarding
So when you
the
see
border?
these crazy numbers, like 20 million people coming in, or like they're stationed around the world and they're getting paid to come in and they're getting phones and they're getting hotels, like what do you think about all that?
Well, again, I think my response is similar to what it is with inflation and gas prices. They say, well, the numbers are so high under Biden and Kamala Harris. It's like, okay, but why? Why are the numbers high? Why are people coming to the border? And I would say that immigration has, or people coming to the border has absolutely nothing to do with what we do inside the country, right? Biden legislating does not prevent people from coming to the border. They'll still come. It has everything to do with things happening outside of our country. And what happened in recent years that led to this, COVID and war happening in Southern American countries, or at least political division and instability. So Venezuela primarily has had a lot of folks coming over from there in recent years, including under Donald Trump. But the point is that high numbers of people coming to the border has not been because of Biden just opening the doors. It's been because COVID shut down a lot of these Southern American economies. Their economies didn't bounce back as fast as ours did. So they're seeking economic opportunity just like a lot of people. So that's why there was a mass influx, and especially with countries like Venezuela and countries like that, a lot of people have been coming from there. And the interesting thing is this trend is consistent all around the world. So France recently passed one of their most restrictive immigration bills that they've done in their history. Why? It's because they're experiencing the same thing that we did.
Oh, wow.
African countries did not bounce back. Middle Eastern countries did not bounce back in the way that we did. So these folks are coming up seeking economic opportunity. That's how you know that it's not just an American problem.
Oh,
It's a
that's good
global
to
problem.
know, because people don't talk about that.
No, if you look at the trends in Asia, in Europe, in North America, it's the same. Canada last year took in the most amount of immigrants they've ever taken in.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not just the United States. So that's number one. But number two, when it comes to people coming in, the majority of people that come to the border are rejected. The numbers you see are apprehensions or encounters, which just means that somebody was physically encountered. It doesn't mean they were let in. It would just mean that they were interacted with by Border Patrol. So the majority of these people are rejected. And you see there have been 10 million encounters. So if the majority have been rejected, that's at least over 5 million people who have not come in. And then also, encounters can happen twice. So if you encounter the same person twice, that counts for 2 encounters.
Got it.
So, people saying there have been 20 million people come in, absolutely not true. But on the issues that you mentioned, like hotels and phones and things like that, the hotels are mostly state policy. So like New York City, for example, they've been housing migrants in hotels. That's New York City specific. That's not federal.
And you live there, so how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that's the right thing to do because, also I have to just quickly preface that these are legal immigrants. They're coming through asylum, which is a legal process. So if they're let into the country, they're legally here. So they're not. New York City is not housing undocumented migrants.
Got it. That's an important distinction.
They're all legal. So these folks, they're in hotels. If they've been given phones, they're legal. And those phones are not like you can go play Candy Crush on your phone, right? They're mostly for tracking your court date. They're like, imagine your phone, but it has one app.
Okay.
You can't do anything else. So it's just for tracking your court date. But a lot of this is state policy. So you're saying, well, what about food? What about housing? That's New York City specific or state specific. That's not Joe Biden doing that,
Okay.
So that was a lot of info. That was a lot.
No, that was a lot. Thank you for sharing that because, I see these crazy numbers and I've never had someone break it down for me like that. So you're saying under 5 million is more realistic.
Yeah, and those I would still argue, are just encounters. We don't actually have like a solid number as to how many people have come in. But there's also another side to this argument that while there has been a lot of strain on the system with so many people coming to the border and a lot of people being granted temporary asylum, it's also been really good for the economy. Fun fact. So the Congressional Budget Office released a study, I believe in either early 2024 or late 2023, talking about how because of the influx in migration over 10 years, our economy is going to be $7 trillion bigger and our federal revenue will be $1 trillion more.
Really?
Yeah, because more people are working jobs.
Oh,
people
wow.
are coming in, they're working. And it's also important to note that America's workforce, the native-born American citizens right now can actually not keep up. Older people are retiring faster than younger people are getting involved in the workforce. So these migrants coming in and filling a lot of these jobs has kept the American economy afloat. And Trump's proposal to just deport everybody would dramatically hurt our GDP, dramatically hurt our federal revenue, decrease the size of our economy, and also we'd be spending like hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars to deport people. It's like,
Right,
that's
it'd be
insane.
expensive. But he wants to deport the illegal ones, right?
Well, yeah, there's currently, I think, 11 million undocumented migrants in the country.
Okay.
But also, again, a lot of these people are working jobs. A lot of these people, the majority of people in the country who are undocumented, are folks that just overstayed their visas or overstayed their green cards. They didn't come in through the border and like sneak in or anything like that. They are folks who were here once legally. Their green cards have expired. And now they're like working a job. They're part of their community. They might be the soccer coach at their local school. And it's like, do you really think that we should deport these people? Like they're law abiding, they're working, they're part of their community. Is that really somebody you think, yeah, you have to get out of here? That just doesn't make much sense.
I can see that. Do you think there's any place for deportations?
100%. If you're a criminal, you're breaking our laws, something along that line, no problem. Deport them, or a lot of these folks are actually in jail in the United States if they've committed crimes. Perfectly happy with that. And I think that there is some merit to deporting some people who have come in recently, but this whole like mass deportation thing that Trump talks about just logistically makes no sense.
It sounds scary because they'd have to go
really
door to door, right? They'd have to
Practically.
send people to houses.
Practically. And it's also like, how do you do that legally? I mean, there's a lot of laws preventing you from like entering someone's home or respecting somebody's privacy. And even that also, those protections apply to undocumented migrants. So, how do you legally go door to door and like raid the house and deport these people? And it's like, a lot of these folks have kids who were born in the United States. Why would we do that?
Right. Another concern I've seen on the conservative side is these illegal immigrants being able to vote.
Yeah, that's utter nonsense.
They're not going to be able to.
No. There's no law or part of the Constitution that allows someone who's undocumented to vote. There are there's only like, I think 6 or 7 in the United States. Actually, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure what the number is. But there's some certain jurisdictions in the United States where undocumented migrants can vote on very local elections. So it'd be like school board, for example. But when it comes to governor, senator, anything statewide, anything national, undocumented migrants cannot vote. And I would point people to the 14th Amendment, which says that only native-born American citizens or people who have obtained American citizenship can vote.
Right.
So that's one of Trump's big lies, that undocumented. It's just
I've seen that a lot all over X.
There you go, all over.
And that's
100%.
why I try to get both perspectives. Here's where people mess up. They only have one perspective.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So that's why I like you, because you're debating, you're getting the other side's perspective every day.
Well, it's really important to listen to the other side. And I want to be clear, like, I think Republicans' concerns with inflation and gas prices and migration is totally valid. Like, if you care about these issues, you're not a bad person.
Yeah.
Like, you're not evil. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think that you're terrible or you're trying to oppress anybody. None of that. I think those are perfectly valid concerns. But then again, we got to be honest about what the problem is. So with undocumented or with migration right now, the problem is actually not people coming across the border illegally. Our border has never been more fortified.
Really?
There's more wall, more Border Patrol agents, more security measures, more laws regulating our border than ever before in American history. But right now, the asylum system is being abused.
Oh.
So Kamala Harris is offering reforms and policy that would actually change the asylum system for the better, so people can't abuse it. Whereas Donald Trump, his whole thing is just, let's just build the wall. It's like, the wall doesn't stop people from seeking asylum. You could have a wall with big turrets on top of them with spikes. It's like, people can still come to the border and seek asylum, and they'll be granted temporary stay. So we have to reform the laws and be smart about it, logical about it, and follow the facts, as opposed to just listening to like sensationalized political rhetoric from Trump of like mass deportation, build a big wall.
Yeah.
It's like, so, I think those concerns are valid. We just have to be honest about them.
Agreed. I will say coming here legally is very difficult.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult, right? I mean, and that's another thing, not to keep bringing you back to Kamala Harris, but she wants to make the legal immigration system smoother. She wants to give out more green cards, more work permits, which of course comes with vetting, and that also helps our economy. Whereas when Donald Trump was president, he actually reduced the amount of green cards and work permits we give out. And my argument to Republicans is like, okay, if that's who you're voting for, don't you think that if somebody can't come to the country legally, they'll try to come in illegally? Like, do you really think that depriving somebody of a work permit or a green card is going to keep them away?
Right.
It's like, no.
That's a good point.
So we should incentivize legal immigration, make that system far easier, and make it much harder to come in illegally.
I agree, because it could help our economy too. If we can
100%.
narrow that down. Yeah, I'm getting married next year, and
Congratulations.
thank you. But yeah, we have family overseas. It's very difficult to
It's
come to the
incredibly
wedding.
incredibly difficult. So, and that's what Kamala Harris is all about. She's like, I want to secure the border, but let's do it in a humane way, and a way that makes folks coming into the country who want to work, or like your family coming into the country, let's just make it easier for them.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I think that would make sense to a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. Because there's people waiting over 10 years right now.
10 years.
Crazy.
And that's the thing with like, Trump's talk or Elon Musk's talk of undocumented migrants voting. Like, people who came in during Obama's like first term are now only able to obtain citizenship.
Oh, wow.
It's like, do you really, like, it's so difficult to get citizenship. It's so difficult to become a legal American. Is that really the argument, that you think that somehow magically these folks are voting en masse illegally? It just makes no sense. But
You see Elon's giving out $1 million a day.
yeah, that's like definitely illegal.
You think it's illegal?
Oh, 100%. Like, or it's walking the line,
Right.
because there's federal law that says you can't give financial incentive or any incentive to register for your party and vote for a given candidate. So Trump's saying Elon Musk saying, hey, sign this petition, which you have to be registered to vote to sign, and
Right.
I'll give you $1 million. It's like, that's really illegal in my view.
Yeah.
And I think that it's telling that that's the lengths that the Republican side is going to try to get Trump elected. It's like, do we really want people, and very wealthy people, walking the line of the law to get their candidate elected? I certainly don't think so.
Yeah, it sounds like a lottery almost. The lottery stuff is no joke. You gotta
No.
be careful with those.
And there's pretty stiff penalties. So
Oh, yeah.
I just before actually we came on, Elon Musk's his request to move the case that he was sued for, or at least investigated for, to federal court was rejected. So it's going to stay. I think it's
They're already suing him?
yeah. There's some legal movement there.
Damn, that was quick.
Yeah, they don't mess around. They don't mess around.
Yeah, with the election on the line, there's high stakes for sure.
High stakes a lot, and a lot of there's going to be a lot of legal challenges. If Kamala Harris wins, just expect Trump to file lawsuits in virtually every single state to try to overturn it, which also, again, I think is a reason to not vote for Trump.
Well, he did that last election, right?
He did that last time. He did a lot last time,
Yeah.
and that's why he's been indicted for that. He's been indicted for trying to defraud the American people, which I think is what the charge was actually labeled as, the statute. And I don't think we want that again. I mean, just like, we have to get to a time of even if you disagree with Kamala Harris, I would argue it is objectively more peaceful or more stable with her as president. With Trump, there's more chaos.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We saw that in 2020.
Yeah, if you're being objective, I think you could definitely argue that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think Trump brings a lot of nonsense, a lot of chaos, and I think we are far better as a people when the president's boring.
Yeah.
We don't want an entertainer as president. We want somebody who you can forget about and be like, oh yeah, they're president, but I'm not really thinking about politics every single day and what the leader tweeted.
You do want a strong leader,
Yeah.
that can negotiate with other countries, handle all the business.
Yeah, Trump's not that. not at all. I think Trump is very weak. I think he's very weak.
Love that, man. Is there anything you agree with him on, policy-wise, or just as a person? Damn, you're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not as a person, but there were
Okay.
some things he did as president that I thought were good. There was the law of the First Step Act was passed. Some criminal justice reform. Okay, no problem. He also had Operation Warp Speed, which was the development of the COVID vaccine. No problem with that. But in terms of the big things that Trump tried and failed to accomplish, or some of them he did accomplish, yeah, no, I totally disagree with him.
I feel that. What do you think of Charlie Kirk? Because you're in college right now. He's out here saying college is a scam. How do you feel about that as someone that's actively in college right now?
About that specific statement?
I guess that, and we can move on to others. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you can make that argument when the data is really clear. There's no problem with somebody not going to college. If you want to go be an engineer or a plumber, those are noble jobs, right?
Yeah.
And any job you work in the United States, if you're working at McDonald's or you're a garbage man or whoever you are, there's pride in that work, right? So you don't have to go to college to hold a good job and be a productive member of society. But the data is pretty clear that if you go to college and the more education you obtain, you're more financially stable, you have more access to opportunity and things like that.
Is that industry-based though data, or is that overall?
I think it's just overall.
Okay.
I don't know what the industry data is. Well, of course, if you're looking at being a plumber,
Yeah.
most people don't go to college; they go to trade school.
Because I would argue for entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter.
I would probably agree. I mean, I'm not an entrepreneur myself, so I can't really speak to running. You probably have more knowledge on this stuff
Yeah.
in terms of running a business. But I think there's, probably some value in obtaining a business degree.
Basic stuff like accounting maybe, but just overall entrepreneurship, it's so ever changing that you can't really learn it in a textbook, in my opinion.
Sure.
'Cause there's so many trends and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that in business entrepreneurship, if having a mentor would probably be more
Yeah.
beneficial.
Oh, way more. Yeah.
So I could see how that makes sense that's what I mean. Certain industries, it might just make more sense to not. And also specific people are different. So
Right.
college and going into business school for some person might work, and for you or somebody else it doesn't. It's I have no qualms with that. But
Yeah.
generally I think that calling college a scam is I know there's a lot of debate around it. I just don't agree.
I think certain professions, it's no longer needed. I could see that point of view. But yeah, college overall as a scam, that's a tough Yeah, because you got doctors, you got lawyers. I mean, it's a tough thing to say.
Yeah, right. I exactly. And like, you learn a lot in college, and I think that being a young person, interacting with other young people, learning from people who are at different parts of the country, I think is really beneficial. There's also like the social aspect, of like
Yeah, that's huge.
being introduced to different viewpoints. So
What are you majoring in?
I'm studying politics and law with a focus on constitutional law.
Makes sense. So you're going to be a lawyer one day. Let's go.
Maybe.
That's going to help you in your debates because
Yeah.
it's a whole nother notch, right?
Exactly. That's hopefully the goal. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But, but Charlie Kirk also just sucks generally.
What else do you not agree with him on?
Well, he's very pro-life. He's very pro-Trump, and I think he ignores a lot of the negatives of Trump. Like he always tries to pull it back to like, can you define a woman and how many genders are there? And
Classic.
It's like who the hell cares? Like I just don't care. If somebody wants to be whatever they want, I couldn't care less.
We're past that argument. I feel like that was like,
That was like 2020. You know what I mean? Like people cared about that in 2020. But if somebody wants to identify as a different gender, I'm gonna be like, okay. Like I couldn't care less what you do. If you're happy, fine by me.
Yeah.
But Charlie Kirk is still going out there saying, well, what's a woman? It's like
it gets views, so I could see why he's doing it.
Yeah. There's an incentive for views, 100%.
Yeah.
But just from that, and he also like ignores the Trump legal cases. He ignores all that stuff. He ignores Trump trying to overturn the election, which I think is wrong. If you want to be good faith, you kind of have to engage with the pros and the cons.
Yeah. Well, I think he's so tied in that if he just speaks negatively about it, it's it's a bad look.
Well, that's also the case. I think like he's very much embedded in the Republican Party, just like folks like Ben Shapiro are.
Yeah.
That if they criticize Trump, that'll be its own headline.
Right.
If they say like, oh, actually Trump's tariff policy is bad, Charlie Kirk is going to get slammed, and I'm sure he has friends in the Republican Party and on the Trump campaign who would have something to say about it. So
yeah. What do you think of the Ben Shapiro 1 on 25?
I actually didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
No, I didn't watch
it.
So I can't really comment on it, but I think Ben Shapiro kind of falls into the same category as Charlie Kirk.
Charlie did one too.
Did he really?
Yeah. Your buddy Dean was on there. I think that might be how Dean blew up.
Oh, actually, I did watch the Charlie Kirk one.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Ben Shapiro one.
That's where Dean really started taking off.
Yeah. So that's where, and I saw Charlie Kirk's debate with Parker, who's a friend of mine.
Parker too, yeah.
Parker, he saw his, and I saw Dean's part of it. I didn't watch the entirety thing, but I saw some clips.
Yeah. No, Parker and Dean really crushed on that, man.
Yeah, they're really great debaters.
I was impressed because they're young.
Yeah, I think Parker is. I think he's 22. I think he's my age, and I think Dean's 20 or 21.
Crazy.
Yeah, like they're going out of young, man.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode.